What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another YouTube video. My name is Mike. I'm a full-time used book reseller. My primary focus is selling books on Amazon FBA. I do sell a little bit on eBay, but not as much as I used to. I like the convenience of just sending it to Amazon and forgetting about it. So today's video is going to be a vlog video, and we're going to talk about how many books you need to have in inventory to make a part-time and full-time income, in my opinion. So let's get right on into it. Alright guys, so the first thing we got to cover is your definition of part-time and full-time income. This depends where you live. I live in Pennsylvania. The cost of living isn't that high, and the minimum wage I believe is $7.25 or $7.50, which is super low. But some people live in states where cost of living is way high. I mean, if you live in California, you're talking a whole different numbers than what we're going to cover today. So when I first started out, I was working full-time in retail as a manager, and I was doing this on the side. So it takes a while to build up your inventory in Amazon, because as you're sending stuff in, it's selling. So it's hard to keep up with your inventory unless you're consistently sending in boxes of books every week. That's why I like to say, you know, don't go by how many books you want to get every week. Go in by how many shipments you want to do every week. So when I first started out, my goal was one box every other week. So one full box, usually around 40 books, every other week into Amazon. So as I grew into it more and more, I got to one box a week. Now, the problem is, once you get around, I would say 300, 400, that's when you're going to plateau out if you're only doing it part-time, because you're selling more books than you can send in, because you're only doing it part-time. So you don't have as many books to send in. So you're fighting an uphill battle, and you're going to plateau, which can be frustrating. But if you're only doing it part-time, you have to level with yourself that you're only expecting part-time. You're only going to make part-time money from it, which is good money, you know? So starting out as part-time, I would say you need to have like an average of minimum 300 to 500 books in stock. It sounds like it's not a lot, because you could go out in a week and probably find 200, 250 books. But like I said, once those books start getting checked in, they start selling. So that number, maintaining that number, is the hard part when it comes to selling books on Amazon. It's not your overall quantity you send in, it's what you want to maintain in inventory so the sales keep going, because not all your books are going to be fast movers. Some of them are going to take time to sell. So part-time, I would say you need at least, we'll say on the low end, 250, and the higher end part-time, 500 books. And that's so you get a steady paycheck from Amazon every 2 weeks. By steady paycheck, that can mean, you know, that could vary. If you're finding a lot of textbooks, or you're finding a lot of low profit fast movers, it really depends on, you know, what your profit margins are on the books. So part-time, between 250 and 500 books, maintaining an inventory, I would say you probably make around between 400 and, we'll say, 750 every 2 weeks. So between $400 and $750 every 2 weeks. Now if you broke that down into like an hourly wage, 40 hours a week, you know, $750 isn't bad. If you're currently working a minimum wage job, $750 every 2 weeks is going to be more than what you're making at your job. And if you're only doing it part-time, it's definitely better off. Even, you know, $400 doing it part-time is a really good wage. My first job, I worked at Macy's, making $7.25, and I remember working 40-hour weeks and only bringing home like a little bit over 200 bucks, which is terrible. So I understand what it's like to work a lot and not make much. So once you get into, you know, flipping these books, you're going to see the potential there. So that's why when I started out, I seen the potential of, hey, I'm only doing this part-time, and I'm making a large chunk of what I make full-time, being miserable, working 6 days a week, you know, never having a day off basically from your actual job, because you're, you know, you got to work for the company, you know, and their expectations are just ridiculous. So now when you take that jump to go full-time, if you want to make a full-time livable income on Amazon, minimum you're going to need probably 800 books in inventory at all times. And that's if you're living a frugal life, and you know, you're basically living within your means. You're not doing anything crazy. Personally, I don't have any debts, so my only debt is my rent that I pay. So my car is paid off. I don't have any credit cards or any of that. So my income that I needed to go full-time may be a lot less than somebody else's. So, because I don't pay a lot for rent either, because where I live, it's a nice place. It's just cheap to live in Pennsylvania, in some areas of Pennsylvania. So you would need at least 800 books in inventory if you want to make, probably, I'd say if you have 800 books consistently in inventory, you should make over $1,000 every 2 weeks easily from Amazon. And like I said, these books, you got to make sure you're sourcing the right books, and make sure you guys have your correct trigger set up in Scout IQ. If you're going to invest all this time into it, make sure you're doing it right, because you're going to get real frustrated if you go out and find these books and send them in and they don't sell, because Amazon's going to charge you 40 bucks a month to have a professional seller account. So part-time, we're looking at 250 to 400 or 500 books every 2 weeks. That should net you around, we'll say, $300 to $600. Full-time, you're going to need, I'm going to say, 800 books minimum, and that's a lot to keep up with, because once you start getting higher up in the numbers, you're selling more than you're sending in. So sooner or later, you're going to reach a point where you can't keep up with it. You're going to plateau, basically, because you as one person, as you send them in, they're selling just as fast as you're sending them in. So you'll realize that when you start getting closer to that point, like, this is going to be my plateau. This is, you know, this is a baseline of how many books I can have in inventory at one given time. And it depends what you're doing. You know, if you're doing free book pickups or bulk book buys, you know, it's going to look a little bit different for you, because you got such an influx of books, so it's easier to maintain your inventory. But if you're cherry picking like I am, and I'm only taking profitable books, having 800 in Amazon, it's a challenge. Trust me. I send in probably at least 5 boxes a week now, and it's tough to maintain, because a lot of these books sell the second they get checked in. So that's going to be it for today's video. Just wanted to give you guys an insight into how many books you would have to have in inventory consistently to make a decent amount of money. 100 books ain't gonna do it. 200 books ain't gonna do it. You're gonna need more books than that, and you're gonna need to be consistently sending in books once you get to that point. So I know it seems like, oh, I just send in the books and I'm gonna make a whole bunch of money. It doesn't work like that. It takes time to build up your inventory and everything. So just wanted to give you guys a little bit insight on the actual amount of books you would need to make some kind of wage from Amazon and live off it. So I appreciate you guys watching. Make sure to comment, like, and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next book thrifting video. Bye-bye!